Bismillah ar-Rahman Rahim. This is our third lecture for basically this is the fourth lecture. One was in the campus and the rest are shared with you through my YouTube channel. And this is a very important chapter, and I divide this chapter in two different parts. First, I would like to explain the importance of change management. Earlier, we discussed about the introduction to the organizational development, what are the different organizational development process, what are the different organizational development practices. Then we discuss about the organizational renewal process and in the different manners. The then later on they then the other important aspect of this course, as I earlier mentioned you, this course is organizational development and change management. So I would like to explain about a little bit about the change management, the best practices, what is change management is, how you will perform the change management process, and then later I will explain the other aspects of the change management. And then I will also explain the different models of the change management, which is very important. So I will conclude this part when with these the introduction to the change management, what are the best practices. Then I will discuss about 3 4 different models of the change management, and then this change management portion will be completed in the next weeks, or I will try to complete it in this week as well. So and then afterwards we will go for the diagnostic, and then we would discuss the change organizational development, basically the diagnosing, we can say that basically the organizational development problem models, we will discuss it. Then afterwards we will discuss about the diagnosis phase, and then after completing the chapter of the diagnosing phase, diagnosis process, we would ultimately go for the practical work, and you will people will be involved in it. So let's see it, this change management best practices. uh, what is the change management best practices are is basically, uh, so we will discuss is this in the change management process. First I would go directly with the change management system. Change management system is the following status codes can be used to reflect the status of a change request. The change has been received and accepted but has not been assigned. In progress, the change has been received, acknowledged, and assigned. Work is in progress to fulfill the change request. Approved, the business and technical assessment have been completed, and the change has been approved and committed to the change scheduler. Rejected, the change has been rejected and will be routed back to the requester with an explanation and a recommended course of action. Closed, the change request has been closed. Cancelled, the change request has been cancelled. This basically change management system is when you are doing change management process in organization, this is basically a true sense of the change management process, which is practice in the organization, or which is actually practice in the, you can say that practice in the multinational companies, or you can say that all those organizations who are going for the innovation, all those organizations who are moving towards the change management process, they do this kind of the process. So this is explained. I will explain it later. Let's go through with this whole slides, then we will explain it in a very detail. Then the another important thing is the roles and responsibilities. This is a change initiator. The person who initiate the change is basically known as the change initiator. There are four. Sorry. There are four major roles involved with the change management process, each with separate and distinct responsibilities. In order of their involvement in a normal change, the roles are change initiator, change manager, change advisory board, change implementation team, operations. This is basically mostly happened in such organization where they have a proper R&D department. where they have a proper innovative department, where they have a proper developmental process model, whatever you can say that, or where they have a kind of a, you can say that, a kind of a change process model. So they do in this manner. The one person who's the change initiator who created this is also the same thing, that is also related with the, you can say that, relate with the change agent as well. As then going further, we go to discuss these previous slides, why we are going for the change management process, what is the need for the change management process. This is very important. The purpose of the change management process is to ensure that standardized methods and procedures are used for efficient and prompt handling of all changes. All changes to service assets and configuration items are recorded in the configuration management system. Business risk is managed and minimized. All authorized changes support business needs and goals. So basically, for going to the change management process, we first identified the, uh, you can say that, we first identify the basic purpose or the basic need of the business for which we are going for the change management process. So for standardized methods and procedures, we used efficient and prompt handling of all changes. Then we move on to the all changes, assets and configuration items. Then the business risk is managed and minimized. So this is all the business needs. For this business needs, organization is mostly going for the change management process. Then later on, we will say discuss the changes should be managed to reduce risk exposure. Number one thing. Second thing is minimize the severity of any impact and disruption, to minimize the impact of the any kind of the disruption. By disruption, in other terms, we means innovation. By disruption, we means to say that technological advancements, whatever you can say that, this is related with the disruption. Be successful on the first attempt. You when we're talking about the change management, so organization must be successful on the first attempt. Then target market, different kinds and size of organizations, simple and complex changes required at each life cycle stage. Then the changes with major and minor impact changes is in a required time frame, different levels of budget or funding available to deliver change. So these are the some of the target market elements, we can say that. Then the leading practice is, a service change is any addition, modification or removal of authorized, planned or supported service or service component and its associated documentation. The need of changes arises both proactively and reactively for a variety of reasons. Proactively, for example, seeking business benefits such as reducing cost, improving services, or increasing the ease and effectiveness of support. Reactively, as means of resolving errors and adapting to changing circumstances. This already I discussed with you in a previous slides. What does the meaning of the proactive and the reactive? If you still not clear, you can ask from me through the WhatsApp, or you can generate a query on LMS as well. A change can involve any configuration item or element of IT infrastructure. Some types of changes are application changes, hardware changes, software changes, network changes, environmental changes, documentation changes. So these are the some of the changes. So these are the some of the changes which is related with the IT infrastructure, which is related. So this is, when you're talking about this. So the job types may be changed, the job structures may be changed, the organizational structures may be changed. So these are all the things which is related with the organizational change as well. Then I already discussed with you, then the change initiator. Some examples of change initiators are A product managers in a line of business desiring a new or changed feature on an application, a network architect replacing obsolete network hardware with newer generation hardware with improved functionality. This is the best example of the change management related. So this means that the previous network is obsolete, and now they are introducing a new network in the organization. A network engineer is upgrading the capacity of device or link to handle increased traffic. Then we can say that when you're talking about, so you are changing your infrastructure, you are improving your infrastructure, you are, you can say that you are modifying your infrastructure. So these are all the things which is basically related with the change management, or you can say that these are all the kind of the activities which is related with the change initiator. A service manager, in a first example, product manager is the initiator. In the second example, network architect is a change initiator. In the third example is a network engineer. And in the fourth example is a service manager who discovers a change in vendor contacts or procedures and must update documentation. A tier 1, 2, or 3 support engineer who needs to replace a defective part in a network element. A security manager is basically requesting a configuration and documentation change in response to a newly discovered vulnerability. So these are all the examples of the change initiators, which we can say that related with the examples related with the change management process. Then the change manager is also working working in those organizations where there is a particular system of organizational development, or a proper R&D organization, or a proper R&D department in the organization. So they will work in this manner, you can say that. So larger organization require a dedicated change manager who is responsible for the following: updating and communicating change procedures, leading a team to review and accept completed change requests with the focus of higher risk, managing and conducting periodic change review meetings. This also happened, compiling and archiving change requests, auditing network changes to ensure that change was recorded correctly, sorry, with the work matching the RFC change, had appropriate risk level configuration, items were updated appropriately, documentation was updated appropriately. So these are all the things which is related with the, you can say that with the change management process. Basically, when you're talking about change manager role, so change manager is basically working on the procedures. Change manager is basically is the person who is evaluating the change management process. The person who initiate is the change management process. So the change manager is directly interact with this person, and then they are the kind of the persons that they can relate it with the, you can say that with the assurance of this change management process. The you can say that the updating and communicating change process, then they compile it, then they archive the old change request, so they can relate it that this change is not previously reported, this is a new change which is reported by any change initiator. So they can, the change manager can see all these things, then they communicate with the other things, they proceeded with the other things, auditing, and then the change management record correctively with the work matching the RFC. RFC stands for sorry, request for change. RFC is basically request for change. Request for change is basically a formal request for implementation of a change. The request of change is basically the change record and contains all information required to approve a change. So this is basically a process This is basically a work of the change manager who can do it. Further, change manager can added the information for the change progresses through its life cycle. They can go through with these process, and they can go for the whole you can say that for the whole work as well. As then they had the appropriate risk level. They can see the risk level, as well as they can say the major changes required for the RFC, so they all see it in a very detailed manner. For the RFC, you have to be very you have to be very, you can say that, have a very proper budget available. How you can implement it, for how can you can say that the process it. Your manager, your change manager has the capacity, or your change managers has the kind of the resources available to initiate this kind of the change management. So these are all the things which is very important when you are important element. When you're talking about change manager, so change manager is basically understand, or it's basically see seven basic things, seven basic issues which is concerned with this. Number one is thing, who raised the change. Number one thing, this is very important with the change manager. The change manager is basically evaluate these things. Who raised the change? Second thing is, what is the reasons for change? Third important element is, what return is expected from the change. This is also the duty of a change manager, to evaluate the request for the change which he received from the change initiator. Then risk involved in the change. This is also very important. Then the fifth part is resources required to deliver the change. This is also the responsibility of the change manager. Then the sixth thing is, who is responsible for the create, test, and implement the change. For example, a change manager is a person who is related with the degree of the HR. He might not be the experience in the IT related job. So if the change initiated from one of the person who is talking about as a lay person, is talking about an IT infrastructure or improving the IT infrastructure, so it's the responsibility of the change manager to further forward this change initiate to the IT department. So they will be the actually the responsible person for create, test, and implement that change, which is ultimately related with the IT department. Then the last thing is, which is the related with the change management, is relationships between suggested change and other changes. So these are the seven basic requirements of change management. You can say that. These are the seven basic requirements of change management. You can also search out by Google. You can also find out by the Google. You can see it. And if you need it, or if you, so I can share it with you as well. As very famous this R's in the reasons. Some people is reported reasons. Some people reported 7 R's of change management. So the 7 R's is basically raised, reason, return, risk, responsible, resources, relationships. So these are the 7 R's which is related with the change management process, or these are the 7 checklist points which normally a change manager do for the change management process. I can repeat once again for you people. Number one is raised, second is reason, third is return, fourth is risk, fifth is responsible, sixth is resources, and seven is relationship. And I already discussed in a detailed, I already explained you these 7 points. So you can also search out by Google. You can also find out these in a very detailed manner. If you not find out, I will share with you if you need it. You can discuss with me at any time. Then documentation was updated appropriately. These are all the resources of these are all the responsibilities of the uh, change manager. Then the change advisory board is a body that exists to support the authorization of changes and to assist change management in the assessment and prioritization of changes. Normally, when you entered, or normally when you request for the change management process, normally you request for change. So there is a proper review process, and that review process is basically is related with the review board as well. So they basically, the purpose of this review board is to understand why the change is being made, how it will be made, and what is supposed to accomplish by this change process actually. So the advisory board is basically reviewing the reason, description, implementing steps. They has the return in the submitted request for change form. All these are all the process is basically with the advisory, or you can say that the review board, who can review the all this request for change, and this, then they can submit it with the others necessary documentations, whatever you can say that when necessary, communicating with the request for change, implementators, functional users, and relevant managers to further clarify this thing. This is very important, that you further clarify the importance of change management. So these are all the things. Then you analyze the effect of not implementing the implementation of the change if they are not properly affect the change. Then assess the total risk, impact, and probability referred to chart to services provided to the users community. The manager who approves the request for is ultimately responsible for assessing the impact of the request for the this change request, that change request form. So these are all things. Potential members include are the customers, users, managers, users group representatives, applications developer, maintainers, specialists, technical consultants, services and operations staff such as service desk, test management, continuity management, security and capacity, facilities, office services staff, where changes may affect moves, accommodation, and vice versa. Contractors are third parties representatives in outsourcing situations. For example, other parties as applicable to special circumstances such as marketing if public products are affected. So you can involve the other people as well as in this whole changes by advisory board. If you are lacking in one of the departments, so you can involve the third party people. They can give you the advice, they can give you the help to resolve these kind of the all issues in for initiating and for implementing the change process in a very effective manner. Then so this is the you can say that when we further move on, or when we further discuss this change advisory board, so change advisory board is also review and approves all high and critical impact requests for the change. This is also very for change. Then ensure the request for change, then update the change management process as needed, ensure post implementation reviews. They can also do these things. This is also very important. And if necessary, the change advisory board will recommend communication with the affected campus community. If the persons are the persons who are being affected by this change management, so this is the responsibility of the change advisory board to inform them, to onboard them. So these are all the basic things, which is basically the basic responsibilities of the change management process. Then the change process models. The change process models includes the steps that should be taken to handle the change, including handling issues such as expectations and unexpected events, the chronological order in which these steps should be taken with any dependencies or co-processing responsibilities, who should do what. This is all about to do it, time scales and thresholds, escalation procedures, who should be contacted and when, approval authority, quality of performance measures and objectives. These are all the change process elements. Then change models may include normal change, significant high risk change, major change. These are all the elements which is related with the you can say that related with the change management process. Then you can say that the major changes, minor changes, standard pre-approved change, expedited short interval change, emergency change. These are all the elements which we can say that related with the uh, change management model. So this is majors. There are some major changes. There are some minor changes. So as you people is very much understand these things. Then the then we can say that the other elements we can say that related with the definition of request for the change. Basically, when you're talking about request for change, if you can move further back, request for change. So request of change is a formal proposal, you can say that, that can be submitted by the any stakeholder, or that can be submitted by the change initiator in the organization. Then you can say that there are some further move on to the others elements. You can say that major change, significant change, or there are some urgent change. Urgent change is basically significant high risk, you can say that. Then you can say that. So the emergency changes tend to be more disruptive, have a high failure rate, so they should be kept to be a minimum. The exact definition of emergency change should be defined in the change management policy. So this is how you can say that normal change, major change is that you can a change that have a significant financial implication, high risk involved. So for this, you can say that, for example, you can say that each organization process for identifying and managing a major change will differ depending on the size and the complexity of the business. This is also related with the major change. You can say that. So you say that you are seeing that that there is a major change will be expected after. You can say that the post-COVID crisis. This is a post-COVID or the post-pandemic situations would be the major changes, which has a very direct effect on businesses. For example, you can say that the latest example is the Virgin airline company is liquidized in this pandemic time period. Actually, Virgin airplane company is already faced a lot of problem before this crisis, but now they are liquidized because the thing is they are not operating it. Nothing is operating in the airline industry. So all international airlines and all in domestic airlines, our domestic flights are cancelled. So this is also one of the reasons. So these are all the major risk factors. These are the major this you can say that a change in this instance may change from being operational to a tactical, or then tactical to strategic, to require a different level of authority for the approval. So these are the major change. Then the minor change or the normal change is basically related with the application changes, hardware changes, software changes, network changes, documentation changes, environmental changes. These are all the minor changes. Or you can say that these are all the normal changes. So standard is pre-approved change. Expedited is basically short interval change. Sorry, short interval change is basically due to so many reasons. Government policies are changing, customers' preferences are changing. So for this, you can change the whole thing. So emergency change. This emergency change is the best example is the COVID-19. COVID-19 is the best example for the emergency change. Then the other thing is you can say that then further is the change priority examples. Priority is immediate, treat as emergency change, corrective, putting life at risk, causing significant loss of revenue. This is basically the emergency. Then the you can say that medium is no severe impact, but rectification cannot be deferred until the next scheduled release or upgrade. So you can go for the rectification process. Rectification or no severe impact is basically related with the software changes. That is the minor changes. This number one is the immediate treat as emergency is a major change. So we discuss it. Low is this is a normal routine change which is scheduled, or you can say that upgrade accordingly. So you can say that this is how you can say that. And the change management tools, all the requirement for proposed change are collected and available for evaluating risk. The change is scheduled for implementation. Stated updates are communicated to stakeholders. Users can generate change reports that can be used to govern the change process itself and provide change management with actionable feedback on change activities. So this is a change management. Continuous improvement is basically, you can say that continuous process improvement is basically process improvement program in order to continuously assess and improve the change management process. A process improvement program must be implemented, and then this program is a properly formal documented, continuous and product and used by the management for key business decisions, you can say that. Then further move on to the goal of the continuous uh, process improvement program PIP is to achieve the following critical success factors: repeatable process for managing, for making changes, make changes quickly and accurately, protect services when making changes, deliver process efficiency and effectiveness benefits. The main activities of the PIP is basically related with the process measurement, process reporting, process assessment, process improvement. So these are all related with the PIP, which is related with the process improvement program. Then the change success rate is equals to number of failed changes divided by total changes implemented. So this is how we see the success rate of the change success rate of the organization. Then change management is one of the most important service management process. Any organization, no matter its size, will experience a large volume of changes in order to accommodate new business requirements, to correct faults in the infrastructure or the services, or for other reasons such as legal requirements. All changes have a disruptive potential for the business, hence controlling the release of changes is critical. Change management is even more effective in reducing business disruptions in concept with other service management processes, in particular configuration management, release management, problem management, and incident management. These are all the element which is related with the change management process. So you further read it, you further go to this whole slides to further understand this whole slides. So I will discuss with you in a detail. So the next part of the same week lecture is basically to understand the change management model. So this is how I explain the change management, how different organization, or how we can say that different organizations or change management organizations work for the change management process, and how this the whole change management process works. So I discuss with you in this slides. So you can also go through it, read these slides, listen my lecture. If you still have any ambiguity, if you still have any problem, so you will discuss with me, you can ask with me. So I will discuss with you in a next my in the next videos, or in some others videos as well. As the next part of the same week of this fourth week is about discussing with you the change models. So I will discuss you two or three different models. So this week lecture will be completed after discussing that models with you. So thank you very much. This is the first part of this fourth week, my fourth week. Second part is also share with you in a very due course of time. Thank you very much.